Ah, tea time.
Merry Christmas! Souldin the Grin Brothers here, and it's time for another episode of Tea Time. Now, whether this Tea Time will actually be uploaded on Christmas Day, I don't know, but I'm recording it on Christmas Day because I've got one last tea from my Christmas calendar to have. And that is Rooibos Savoury Blend. There was only one of it in the English tea shop calendar box, and it was saved for Christmas Day itself. It's a herbal tea. Brew time is 3 to 5 minutes, and information on it is it's an organic Rooibos herbal tea with a hefty chunk of cinnamon in it. And by hefty chunk, I mean 24% of it is cinnamon. It smells lovely as a result, but it might be a bit sweet for me. In any case, additional accompanying flavours include apple, licorice, orange, rosehip, and vanilla. So yeah, this is going to be, it should be, very sweet. I'm having it as black tea, and I've brewed it for 4 minutes. Oh, I say black tea. I've had it without milk. It's a herbal tea, so it can't be a black tea. But you know what I mean. And ooh, I usually throw the book onto the sofa there, but the one of the dogs is unwell this Christmas and has kind of urinated on it. So although I cleaned it already, I'm just gonna put the book underneath the desk here. In any case, like I said, this is the last of my Christmas calendar teas, and for the first Christmas calendar tea, I started things off criticising Pokemon Gold and Silver. So I figured I'd end things with this tea time calendar run by doing further criticisms. And this was actually an idea I'd started to think about thanks to 2 games. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, so okay, guess 3 games, and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Namely in terms of how the reviews for that have gone. How there seems to be an instant outcry whenever there's criticism of those games, accusing the people who are criticising this game of being haters. There's also a lot of sort of opinions where people point out flaws with the game but still end up giving it 9 out of 10s or 10 out of 10s. Rafi even said that my opinion on this was actually very similar to a Donkey video that he actually watched. Although Donkey only ever got to that point at the very end of the video, which is, yeah. But yeah, I was thinking to myself, well, these people seem to feel like that, they're pointing out these flaws, but they're still giving it like the high scores of 10 out of 10. But a lot of them seem to be dodging the entire point of criticising these games. They don't seem to be handling the case of being able to accept that these games can be fun whilst being flawed. And even perfect games have their problems. So that inspired me to think, well, even the games that I would rate 10 out of 10, even my most beloved games of all time, are still ones I think could be improved and could be made better. Sure, the core experience is fun, much like those games have fun core experiences, but there are problems with them, and they're, my games themselves, my favourite games of all time, are not perfect games and could always be improved themselves. So I figured, hey, that's what I'm going to make this final tea time, this final Christmas tea time about. I'm not sure how long I'll go on for. I'm just going to start talking about my favourite games, and I'm just going to do as many as I can within 15 minutes or 20 minutes. So then, the title will have already appeared, so let's move on to this discussion topic. Ways to improve my favourite video games. So my favourite video game of all time is Kirby's Fun Pack. Oh, I guess I should also mention, there will be spoilers for a lot of these games throughout, more than likely. So my favourite video game of all time is Kirby's Fun Pack, but one problem I've always felt there is with that game is the fact that, much like the slogan, it's 8 games in one. But that in turn leads to the problem where they feel rather disconnected. There are some story elements that connect them up together, such as the Dino Blade thing, but given that the big sort of final climactic battle is an epic encounter with Marx, who, like, the big twist is that he betrays you, I feel it would have had a lot more emphasis and a lot more surprise to it if Marx was present from the very first sort of like part of Kirby's Fun Pack and appeared throughout the sort of different game modes and such. How a bit greater interconnectivity and more interconnected story between each of the modes is how I would personally improve Kirby's Fun Pack. They differ quite a bit in gameplay types, but that doesn't mean they can't have more story connections. Much like the Dino Blade events connect up with Revenge of Meta Knight, because Dino Blade then helps Kirby out in Revenge of Meta Knight. Likewise, I think such story elements could have been done with Marx, and maybe even have King Diddy pop up again as a boss battle after his initial boss battle in Kirby's Spring Breeze. He also, of course, appears in Race to the Finish, but I feel he should have had another appearance, really. So, my second favourite video game of all time is Final Fantasy IX, and this was actually a hard one to think of things that I would change about it. Admittedly, one thing, a kind of a small thing that I would change about it, is include already equipping of or de-equipping items and equipment of party members who are leaving your party, because your party ends up separating quite a few times, and some party members aren't permanent party members, and you'd end up equipping them with good stuff, and then they'd leave, but they'd take their items with them. So there's suddenly a brief period of time where you're without those items, and you think, darn, that was some of my best equipment. If they're no longer in my party, I could have at least equipped it as my existing characters. Likewise, a lot of the story is admittedly tailored around this, but a problem with the game is that you can't actually have more than 4 party members in a party at once. You can't have them in the stands and just swap out neat and easy like that. So allowing more than 4 party members, although in some story cases it wouldn't make any difference because the story is designed in such a way where it's usually only 4 people in the party at a time. But there are some silly examples, like Queen of Queen just randomly running off at sort of certain points in the game just to suddenly allow it so that a new party member can join. And it'd be just better saying, oh, Queen of Queen can just go in the back and, you can swap it back and forth between them. Rather than, you can only have 4 party members at a time. So those are ways I'd improve Final Fantasy IX. Another game, a game that we've played on Grin Brothers, which it's still my 3rd favourite video game, but I do see where it could be improved, is Sonic Adventure. And things I'd like to improve about Sonic Adventure is whilst I felt Sonic, Knuckles and Gamma had a satisfying amount of game modes, particularly Sonic, he had the most levels of all. Tails, Amy and Big fell a bit short in the level department. Big should have at least had Big maybe have one more. Amy should have had one more, plus I'd think another boss battle would have been really cool for her to have. And Tails should definitely have some more stages. They kind of end too quickly. I enjoy all the gameplay modes in Sonic Adventure, but the game's over too quickly for any character who isn't really Sonic. Knuckles and Gamma, I'd say, have decent amount of stages. Kind of wish that was more evenly distributed. I mean, I can understand Sonic having more, but he had much, much more in the level department. And I think that's kind of a problem although Sonic Adventure is my 3rd favourite video game, and although I do prefer it over Sonic Adventure 2, I feel the Sonic and Shadow levels are the Sonic levels are the one thing that improves from Adventure to Adventure 2. Whereas I feel the other game modes aren't as good as they were in Sonic Adventure. Or their closest comparison, the Knuckles and the Gamma levels compared to the Knuckles levels in Sonic Adventure 2 and the Tails levels in Sonic Adventure 2. So yeah, more levels for the characters is the main thing I'd do to improve on it. Maybe also include a stage for Super Sonic at the very end, because you only get that one boss battle, and it would be cool to have a stage involving him. And something that I remember, I think I watched the Geek Critiques video on Sonic Adventure. Having more, having the characters actually talk about the whole Tikal situation would have been cool. Actually interact with the other characters about, hey, have you been noticing this magical floating ball of light which gives us tutorials and keeps transporting us to other through time and space? That would have been a cool thing. Okay, number 4, Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Ways I'd improve Smash Bros. Brawl? Well, I always wanted more in Stage Builder. Super Smash Bros. 4 technically did that, but it was kind of a 1 step forward, 2 steps back situation, in that there was a lot of limitations that made it worse, in a sense. But, back in Brawl, I always wanted there to be more, stages available, more like backgrounds and such to change up what you got. Because the plethora of items was neat, but was this point you couldn't add lava or water to a stage that you were designing, and there was only 3 themes to choose from. As something that none of the Smash Bros. Games have done, assist trophy and Pokeball item selection. Specifically having it so you can turn off individual assist trophies or Pokeballs. This wasn't too much of a problem back in Brawl, but in later Super Smash Bros. Games it suddenly became a problem because, god damn it, Keldeo screwing you over. But at least in Brawl there was some I'd turn off. Kyogre was a right nuisance. Kyogre wasn't fun to come across. There's the point where, Brawl, I think, was the closest point to have perfectly balancing chaos whilst being fun and fair, but it was when it came to Super Smash Bros. 4 onwards that a lot of the stages and items were too overpowered, too misbalanced. Another thing for Super Smash Bros. Brawl, in Subspace Emissary, more series enemies and locations sort of designed around it. You only really got a few Mario enemies and such, and, Ganondorf's leading the Subspace Emissary villains, then shouldn't there be some more Legend of Zelda villains about the place as foot soldiers? And maybe you could have thrown some Kirby-based enemies, and again, it was due to time limitations, so I can understand why it didn't happen. But, having Wolf, Jigglypuff, and Toon Link involved in the plot would have also been cool. Maybe then with Wolf have some Star Fox villains, enemies, like a shooting stage. That'd be cool. 5th game, oh man, this was a really hard one. My 5th game on this list, Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door. Still probably the best sort of RPG to like get people into RPGs because it's very welcoming. It's very welcoming to novices and children, whilst not being dumb. There's a lot of intellectual sort of thought going into it. You still have to think quite a bit in it. And yet somehow the Game Grumps failed at playing it completely, to the point where Raffi cannot even watch good Paper Mario gameplay anymore because it causes him physical pain. But ways I'd improve it, some partner-focused side quests and upgrade. Now, the partners did upgrade, but I always wanted a more substantial upgrade. One way I thought would be really cool is if Gumbella could have become a Paragumba. Give her wings and such. I thought that would be a really neat idea. Give him like a enhanced form. Another feature that, for the side quest, have an extra story-driven side quest. Towards the end of the game, you get to go, one final side quest. Maybe that could even be how you get the upgrade for them. To give them, like, Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door did a good job of trying to give as much of the characters screen time as possible. Little points where they have a unique bit of dialogue. But that all depends on who you had out at the time. Often, for instance, it would be Gumbella because you always had her out for tattling. So there'd be certain characters you never really get to see too much in terms of the overworld. Oh, I walked in this cutscene with this character out at the time. So having some character-focused side quests where you had to use that sidekick in particular partner character would have been particularly good. Also more Bowser levels. There was only like 3, maybe 4, but I think there was only like 3 of them, and there needed to be more. They were a lot of fun doing the old-fashioned Super Mario Bros. Levels as Bowser and just tearing through things. Let's see, a Wii game on my list. Another one, because I had Sonic Super Smash Bros. Brawl on this. Muramasa the Demon Blade. There was only 2 sword types that you could have, like a short sort of swift sword and then a larger sword. It would have been really nice if they had at least a 3rd sword type. I also felt that there was a lot of cooking in the game, a lot of eating food. But like the cooking, you kind of like you slowly ate the food, and they put a lot of detail in designing it. But like that was all there really was to it. You got like slight stat enhancements, but I felt that it would have been nice if there were like a little mini game where you could actually do the cooking yourself, maybe use the Wii remote controls, more than just you just select the ingredients and done, it's cooked. Now you eat it slowly for some reason, just repeatedly tap A to eat it all. Like, it doesn't matter how much you tap A, it doesn't matter, it just depends on how you eat it quicker, and it doesn't change the stat effects at all. But, have it being a more involving experience actually doing the cooking rather than, I got the ingredients cooked up, I got a start up upgrade for a while. Let's see, Kirby's Adventure Wii. Which others might know as Kirby's Return to Dreamland, but we in the UK just got the slightly shoddy name of Kirby's Adventure Wii. Unlockable characters would have been really nice, beyond the Bandana D, King Dedede, and Meta Knight. It was a great fun being able to play as them, but I'd have loved to have played characters from the Kirby series past, which, funny enough, Kirby Star Allies kind of did, although they were all most of them were DLC, sadly. But the idea of unlocking more characters would have been really cool. A better super system. This was something that the later games improved on a lot. There's been a super mechanic since Kirby's Adventure Wii. In Kirby's Adventure Wii, it was like the hyper version of the abilities, like Hyper Sword and such, which I felt was pretty poor because only Kirby used them, for instance. It would have been really good if they were designed in such a way which King Dedede, Meta Knight, or Bandana D could. Again, later games improved on that, but they improved on it in a more Kirby-specific way. For the most part. In Kirby Triple Deluxe, they gave him the Hypernova, which I always felt is the most fitting one, and I felt a lot of the puzzles made a lot of sense for Kirby as a character. Whereas in Planet Robobot, they had the Robobot suit, which whilst I didn't think fit Kirby as well, it certainly was the most engaging, and it was really cool how they focused the puzzle elements around the Robobot specifically. So when you're not in the Robobot, the game was more focused on the action elements, because when you're in the Robobot suit, you just kind of destroy everything, so the action isn't much of a challenge. The challenge comes from trying to solve the puzzles to get all the unlockables. So yeah, a better super system that the other characters, King Dedede, Meta Knight, and Bandana D could do, so that it didn't have to be completely reliant on Kirby doing it. And let's see, other games. Pokemon Black and White is my favourite Pokemon series of version of all, but I do have criticisms to it. For instance, despite being my favourite version, it has my least favourite protagonist designs and my least favourite starters. I don't really like any of the stars. Oshawott like neutral ground. Like the Oshawott's like if I have to have a star, Oshawott's the only one I'd really choose. I despise Tepig. He was useless in my attempt to use him before, and as a result, in Pokemon Pokemon White version that I played through, it was the first time I ever played through a Pokemon game without the starter, because I lost to Loran. I believe that's the name. The second gym leader. I lost to her because Pig Knight's Arm Frost couldn't kill the opponent. and he got destroyed by Retaliate. But yeah, so better stars, better protagonist designs, and more to the post-game. Like, you should have fought each of the sages that you were tracking down, but you didn't, and that's really annoying. Like, I was hoping for a fight against each of them. So more to do in the post-game would have been really appreciated as well. And, I've gone to the 15-minute mark. Whilst I didn't cover all the games within my top 10, I was even hoping to cover top 12. I figured, again, I'm only going to try to do this as a short one, and I feel I've given a good example of how, although these are my favourite video games of all time, and I'd give them 10 out of 10 scores on a personal level, there's ways that could be even better. And there's actually a game this year which has kind of shown, which is possibly in my top 10 favourite video games now. And it kind of shows how one of these games could be better by doing better on it. Sequels and all, that's how they work. And, I hope you can think about games that you think I really enjoy this game, or this is one of my favourite video games of all time, but it could have been better if it had this in it, or if it did that, or if it didn't have this one part which annoyed me. I feel it could be tweaked to be even better. Don't just aim for, perfection is something you're never going to really reach, but aim for the highest point and then think, I can aim even higher next time, sort of thing with the games. And that's kind of what I think, these games were fantastic, and, there are ways I think they could be even more fantastic. Now to try out this final Rooibos Savoury blend, I believe it was called. Interesting. I was going to say it's not not as sweet as I was expecting. But then the sweet thing, like, I was almost worrying about how sweet it is, because it kind of reminded me of the triple cinnamon tea, which was overwhelmingly sweet. Given I haven't got milk with it, it's not that bitter, but it's not super sweet. Good aftertaste. Good taste on the sides of your tongues. That's a rare place. I think that's the vanilla. Ooh, wow. Oh, there's definitely a sweet taste on the tip of the tongue. Going to the top of the tongue, depending on how you swish it in your mouth, you can definitely get a much sweeter taste. I think this might be better if I brewed it for 5 minutes, but 4 minutes, it's pretty good. It's not too overwhelming. For some people, it might not be strong enough. They may want a stronger tea, but it's pleasant. It's quite nice. Not something I'd go out of my way to get, but if I was served it, I'd have no problems drinking it. Yeah, if I ever have this again, I may try the 5 minutes, see about how it is when it's a little bit stronger, but not too strong, because, when it's too strong, it's, not too pleasant. But, what I mean. So that was Rooibos Savoury Blend. And I hope you enjoyed this tea time. Although it's not being uploaded on Christmas Day, unless I somehow leave this tea time all the way until next Christmas, I hope you have a very good Christmas, be it 2018 or 2019. And feel free to share your thoughts below on ways that I've suggested to improve my favourite video games. Hey, maybe you should try and give it a shot yourself. Suggest some of your favourite video games and ways you would personally improve them to make them even better experiences for you and for others. So, cheer everyone!